Hello, willkommen, or something. Uh, Launcher, no, not settings, play, blah blah blah. Yay. Welcome to episode 3 of this playthrough. Or let's play, I don't even know what this is anymore. Is this the one? Yeah. So we're only at level 6, and we're not gonna do cheeky spamming like in settlements to farm levels. That's just grindy, that's no fun. That's no fun. No fun at all. So, I haven't even played since last, so this is still going. Anything drop down under? Nope. Actually, we don't know, because half the time when items drop, they'll also drop through the world. Thanks, Bethesda. Just perfect. Just works. Just perfect. No. Yeah, that's still up there. Wait, I think that thing is gonna be there as long as I'm here. It's not gonna teleport to Trash Can Carla, I think. Or it might just disappear now, who knows? Might always do, it's a Bethesda game. Anyway. We made it back, so let's actually upgrade some weapons and stuff, because that also gives experience, and it also betters our chances of survival, which we kinda need right now. So yeah, we got some nice weapons here. Actually, I'm just gonna go back to the here and just pipe bolt action. This is also pipe, right? But it's not a bolt action. 13 damage. 34 damage, okay. What lower DPS on this one though? So I will dump that. And that and that. And the rest here we will try to upgrade, I think. Let's see what we can do. I think we should focus on pipe weapons, because that's basically what we're gonna encounter. Let's see here, let's go down. Well, we can't really do anything really. That's because we need the gun nuts perk. Yeah, it's... I mean, this is a bit sad that I can't really do anything to it. Not this. Nope. 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 Nothing. Wow. How about this? Nope. 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 Okay. Let's see, what melee weapons do we have? We only have that sledgehammer, really. Oh yeah, I guess. What? Confusing menu. Huh. And yeah, that's oof. We can't upgrade any of our guns at all. Oh, maybe we can. Let's level up some stuff. So, gun nuts. Actually, I said that we were gonna be a stealth character, right? Let's try and adhere to that. Ooh. But I never use that. Advanced locks would be nice. Or just more sneak. No longer trigger floor-based traps. I think I'll snag that, thank you very much. And I'll also grab that so I can pick advanced locks. I kinda wanted to put that point I put in sneak into hacking instead of lockpicking. So, wait. Instead of lockpicking and sneak, I would take lockpicking and hacking. Oh well. Either done. Speaking of where are we? Oh, we're just beginning level 6, so that's a bit harsh. Don't really have much at all, really. I mean, yes, we do have massive amounts of materials, but we don't have any experience. So, with that said, let's travel to here. And let's just start walking to the right on the map and discover things. Oh, but I think we've already discovered that. That's the no, it's not the closest. There's the junkyard here. Oh fuck.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
We clear? Nice. Let's continue. Was I saying something? Maybe I was, I don't remember. Oh. Hi, buddy. You look worse for wear. I think you need this. 144 pistol.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
I guess. What? Nice. Is this vacuum sealed shut? What is this? I've never seen this before. What is this?
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
Raider.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
What happens if I VATS
Hey,
them from there?
Vsauce, Michael here.
Body shot would kill him. It's not really side of the... That dog looks like it's looking at me though. Yeah, fuck. I'm not here. God damn it. No. Shush.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Exactly, nothing there now. There's never anything there at all.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
How to be a sneaky bastard. And technically they don't know where I am. Fuck. Yeah, that was a bad idea. Shit.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Hey, a pump. Maybe that's what's holding the vacuum.
Where'd the little bitch go?
Good question. Where did I go? The little compass there, it's, I mean, it's practically cheating. But, I mean...
Piece of candy.
That's what I'm worried about.
Hey, let's go eat. I'm starving.
You can eat when I'm done showing.
Oof. I don't think they're appreciating what I'm doing here.
Scared, huh? You should be.
Let's open this now and see what happens. Oh! Cap stash. Nice. Let me remind you, I'm not good at all at shooting stably with a scope. Whenever
Ooh, a piece of candy.
whenever I have like a sniper and I sit and aim right at the moment that I shoot, I usually jerk around like that for some reason. So I usually just can't aim. There's one over here somewhere. There's one. Oh. Huh. Oh well, I don't think there was anything else. So, let's continue towards that scrapyard, I guess.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
The guy who usually plays only in power armor. It's kind of weird running around like this in the wasteland. Here we are at the robotics disposal ground. Here you will get your first 2 fusion cores. One from this robot. Maybe more if you're lucky. And there's the second one. And really there's not much to it. You could literally just stop punching on it, I think. There is a holotape up there to destroy it, I think. What if I just start punching it? Great game, Bethesda. 10 out of 10. Game of the year. Oh. So you can't just hit it.
Nice.
And here we should be able to play the tape, activate SentryBot, continue with boot up sequence, load the whole tape again, and then we're gonna initiate self-destruct. And then for good measure, deactivate SentryBot, I guess. Error processing request data corrupted. Anyway, we can grab that. I don't think that tape is of any use anymore. It should start self-destructing any moment. Where is it going? Maybe that tape is good to have anyway. What? What? Oh. There we go, twice. Oh yeah, maybe I should have. I triggered that. Nice teleport. Grab all of that. And now we can go to the combat center bot and loot 2 more fusion cores. Oh wow, I thought it only was 1. Well, there you go. 3 fusion cores from here. Nice. Yeah, because you can totally open a gate through a piece of toilet porcelain. Yes. It just works. 10 out of 10. Game of the year. Let's continue up to that satellite station up there. We made that. Hub floor, I have no idea what it's used for. I don't really use the chemistry station, but I assume that's where it's used. Excuse me?
Ooh, piece of candy.
What? Just a random power armor? Food!
Ooh, piece of candy.
Where do you find bottle caps on that thing? What do you mean cruel? I'm not cruel. Oh! Oh! Okay, that's actually a bit gross. Actually a bit gross. So... No, there is no fusion core in here. It's T45. That's what I have at home, I think. So I'm gonna leave that be, in hopes that when I come back here it's gonna be something else. It's probably not, but I can hope. Carrot flower. No. I'm not here. I'm not here, I promise. I am not here at all.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Where are they? That doesn't say anything. That almost scared me. Thank you, game. And I'm gonna go over here. Just trading up my stealth. Where are they? There's someone clearly around here. Oh. I think we found what's around here.
Piece of candy.
Looks like the group who was here is no longer.
What the?
I said nothing. I said absolutely nothing.
Just noise. Just noise.
Yes, exactly. It's just a noise. They're above me.
Someone there?
No.
This better be fun.
Why do they have a caution on me? Uh-oh. 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 I hear the scream.
Piece of candy.
Why do I hear the ah boom? Really? That's a thing? Well then. Good to know. And again, self-healing names is like, what?
Piece of candy.
Let's see what we have upstairs. Ba 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 da ba ba. Fusion cells, baseball blind, canned food, vodka. That's about it. Oh! Oh well, I survived that. Oof. And here we could go in and loot here, but we're not gonna do that, I think. We are gonna face east, and we're gonna walk. While we're traveling, I will eat some candy. Because why not? Oh. Okay, heal, heal, heal. Can I like that's that's
Hey, Vsauce. Michael here. Hey, Vsauce. Michael here. When will you die?
yay! I got it. I just gotta survive this, which I might not do. Oh, shit. Yeah, that's some admirable blocking work. No. I somehow survived that. Ooh! I like that. I will equip it right now. I'm harder to spot now. Somehow. Remember, take everything. Everything's valuable. Everything can be recycled. Even flesh. That's a bit dark. But it's true. Nature does it all the time. Oh.
Piece of candy.
Okay. Let's continue on to this farm, presumably. And there we go, 10 Pines Bluff. Let's see here. Oh, potatoes. I'll take those. Hi.
You've got to help. My sister's been kidnapped.
What?
It's okay. You just need to tell me what happened.
They said they'd be back for the ransom in a few days. If I don't pay up, they'll kill her. But I don't have that kind of money.
Hmm.
Do you know where they took her?
I'm pretty sure. I'll mark it on your map.
Don't worry. I'll get her back.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know what I was going to do. Just bring her back safe, okay?
Nice. Technically we could steal that tin can and stuff, but So, where are we on the map now? Barely there, okay. Let's continue heading east. Hmm? Oof. Unmarked location. Any more? Any more takers? Going first. Going second. Going third. Sold! That's not too much, to be honest. Some nice little loot here. Doesn't really help us though. Yay, Voltaic lunchbox. Doesn't really help us though. Like, looting and even activating those lunchboxes doesn't give me XP, so yeah, tough luck. How the perf... Oh! Okay, whatever. Upgiven, I have. Let's go to the east. You know what, I'm gonna run. I'm not gonna stay for that. I'm actually gonna run, I'm not gonna stay for that.
What the hell was that?
Don't mind me.
Think you can hide?
No. I just stole a potato. Don't you mind me. Really? Really? Oh, it's not so far. At least it saved that. Holy hell. Oh, that's like when you're running through a territory and you hear after yourself, ding, tsh, ding, you know you're fucked. Oh. Oh well. Let's auto travel again to 10 Pines Bluff. Let's save while we're there. It's not too far though. Yeah, let's pick up that quest. Hey you.
You gotta help. My
Oh.
sister's been kidnapped.
It's okay. Don't worry. I'll get her back.
Just
There you go. Quick save. Quick saves and normal saves are different, by the way. Just a bit of technical knowledge about the engine, which is exploited to hell sometimes. Who are you?
Hey, Vsauce. Michael
Settler. What are you doing here?
Huh?
Hey,
You know what I call a good day? One that ends without an empty stomach.
Yeah, what settlement do you belong to? What the f... Okay, bye-bye. Whatever, pal. I'm not gonna go there because... oof. We're instead gonna try and steal that fat man that supposedly exists here. Wait. Why do I... Is that the... Oh, Bethesda, how the fuck am I supposed to read this? What the fuck am I looking at? What is this? What is this?
Gotta be an end to this someday.
Turn down, maybe now. Is it that thing? Inspect, yes. Enemies have a harder time detecting you when you're sneaking and not moving. So,
Do what I gotta do. What the?
no. I'm not here. No.
Nothing. At least it sure as hell looks that way.
Indeed. Looks like nothing, then it must be nothing, right? This is...
Ooh, piece of candy.
What if I just... Oh, you're lucky. Or not. Nothing here. Oh! Okay, that genuinely made me a bit oof.
Ooh, piece of candy.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I'm not here. I'm not here. Fuck. I'm not here.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
None of this is gonna hit, but... Oh! Cripple both arms, that's good enough, I guess. You know, I do not exist here. Well, somehow I can aim steady. I'm mostly scared of that.
Ooh, piece of
Of
candy.
that fat man.
No need to hide. It'll all be over soon.
Where? Turret? Where?
Only a fucking coward hides.
Okay, that's somehow worked. And the others didn't hear me. Somehow. I was like, maybe I can disguise as them. Where is that motherfucker? Where is that fat man? Where's that fat man wielder? That was a bit too close. Ship.
is this bullshit?
There he is. Ow, I just hit my head.
Fuck was that?
Not me. Hmm.
Come on out. I'll make it nice and quick. You can trust me.
They're boomers, so let's have them. Let's let them have a taste of their own medicine. Explosives. Oh.
Piece of candy. Piece of candy.
Oh, I know you're here. I'll find you.
Will you though?
Show your face. Come on. I dare you.
I wonder, can I throw... Okay, that went shit.
Piece of candy.
That went like shit.
Piece of candy.
When you turn up, you're dead. Open fire!
That was a bit too close. That was a bit too close. It careened over the hill.
Engage with me, huh?
It careened over the rock face.
Piece of candy.
Oh my god. Oh! Yes, I saw that. I'm on my way. I'm out of stim packs now. We're officially out of stim packs. Shit, gotta reload apparently.
Perfect.
Ooh!
Piece of candy.
Not much. Quick save, because I'm a bitch.
You'll run out of bullets at some point.
Wait, did he run out of mini nukes? I think he did. Don't.
Gotta reload sometime, asshole!
Excellent.
Just gonna take all of his belongings and then murder him. Ooh! Yeah, I shouldn't stand that close to a... Ooh, mini nuke. Wait, why is there a mini nuke on the ground?
I've done this hundreds of times. You think you'll be any different?
Like, shouldn't he at least have The mini nuke launcher? Where is that? Need to clear the enemies from the location. One moment. He seems to be stuck on that stair, so I'm not complaining. Well, I'm gonna. Ow! Whoa! 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 You're a don't bring your fists to a gunfight. Even in power armor, that's stupid. Like, sure, this is a game and all that, but
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
oof. Oh, he did have a fat man. Hmm. Yay. To secure this site, I need to put up some machine guns. One. And that's all we have resources for now, but fuck that.
I need to assign someone to this.
Okay. With that said, let's continue east. And let's save, for God's sake. Don't have a lot of ammo right now, which is a problem. Guess I have to go more with melee. Huh. Let's leave those alone. Oh. General Atomics Galleria. Oh wow.
Welcome to the General Atomics Galleria. You must be our new supervisor.
Yes, that's right.
Splendid. Well, let me be the first to welcome you to your new assignment. Once you've had a chance to get settled in, you should report to the director. His office is located in the statue in the center of the plaza. The Galleria is currently closed to the public, but staff and employees are permitted on the grounds, of course. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to assist you.
What is this place?
The General Atomics Galleria is the shopping center of tomorrow today. Our wide array of stores are staffed entirely by the General Atomics line of robots, showcasing the reliability and versatility of a robotic workforce. Come in and experience the General Atomics difference.
That's all?
Very well. Enjoy your visit.
Be on the lookout for thieves, trespassers, and communists.
Communists. Okay.
Wonderful. You're just in time for today's product demonstration. Right this way, please.
Oh no.
General Atomics, the world leader in consumer robotics. Our dependable line of Mr. Handy household robots will free you from the drudgery of housework forever. From chores to childcare, errands to entertaining, no task is too big for Mr. Handy to handle. And our models are legendary for their reliability and durability. With proper servicing, your Mr. Handy can last a lifetime. For military clients, General Atomics
Hey, Vsauce. Michael here.
to offer our Mr. Gutsy product line, complete with the latest in high-tech military hardware.
Hey, Vsauce. Michael here.
I don't think this was a good idea. Yeah, that wasn't a good idea at all. My custom death sound hasn't loaded, that's sad. Oh well. Let's see where we jump back to now. Oh. Well. God fuck. Damn it. God F damn it. This is aimed over here-ish. There we go. Somehow survived that.
Welcome to the General Atomics Galleria. You must be our new
Yes.
What you the gallery?
What is this place?
The General
What is this place?
Ah!
General, come in and experience.
That's all?
Very well. Enjoy your visit.
All employees, report suspicious behavior to the director.
Quick save. Why doesn't this guard Gutsy have a voice? Let's greet the director. And let's be utterly murdered by him because he's a Gutsy. And I'm pretty sure he'll have a skull next to his name.
Hey, Vsauce.
Yep.
Michael here.
Right, maggot. Step forward. Slowly. Hold it right there. I've been monitoring your approach. Impressive. Very impressive. For a low-life criminal.
I'm reporting in. As ordered.
Reporting in? Wait, the Grand...
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Manual authorization of the Grand Reopening requires authentication, so I'm going to need to see your ID. Sir.
Sir?
What ID?
Explanation issued. This is a threat. Present your ID!
I don't have to show you anything.
Unacceptable! The Galleria is closed!
Fuck.
You were warned!
I'm about to get wrecked. Can do this all day.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
Oh. Yeah, what do I shoot at now? Abort. Let's consume some food real fast here. I mean, yes, I'm practically dead, but who cares at this point?
Beastly nuisance. Glad that's done with.
Is that the best you can do?
I don't know. Is it? Whoa. Yeah, this is a level of fuck I don't want to be in right now, but here I am. Yeah, that's that ammo consumed. Gabe. Bruh. Really? Oh, finally. Oh. Shit. Now every other guard. You know what? I'm gonna reload.
All employees, report suspicious behavior to the director immediately!
Why is these guys' voice lines not coming through? That's so weird. No.
Who's there? Are you a customer? Now you listen here. Every single item in this store is exactly where it belongs. Exactly. It's taken me years to get it all in order. You can look if you want, but don't touch anything.
Yep, that wasn't a good idea either, I think. For this 360 quickscope. No. Yay! I can now take all of this because he no longer needs it. I don't think he really cared anyway. Certainly doesn't care now. Oof. That's the top floor, that wasn't much there. Da-da-da. Oh! I was still marked as owned. For some reason. Let's see how the others react. They seem to be kind of content.
Please take a number for faster service. 13. Number 13.
Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Fuck. I regret everything I've ever done. Shit. Shit. Up. That's it. We're done for. Or not. Well. I don't have any bullets left. No. Okay. Okay. I'm way too weak to take on this. I'm bleeding ammo as a result, but hey, we're surviving, I think. Looty, looty, looty. See what they have in the kitchen. There. We have taken that over.
The director has sanctioned the use of lethal force against looters.
Come on in.
There's gas in this room.
Welcome. What'll it be? Just coffee today?
Sure.
Coming right up. Here at Slocum's, Joe, all of our coffee is heated.
The gallery
No.
is closed.
What?
I found you.
What? Why are you mad? Yep, let's eat. How does your speaker still work?
Remember, you are the pride of General Atomics.
Others don't seem to care, so I appreciate that at least. Okay, everything's blown to smithereens and it's on the floor now. So that's sad. I seem to be finding it though. Hmm.
The director has sanctioned the use of lethal force against looters.
Someone was mad.
Any deviation from standard operating procedures must be authorized by the director.
Round against the champ, the world's greatest boxing instructor.
Maybe. But that's only if I'm allowed to use something I don't even have, so I'll be back later. Also, I'll take these.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
I don't think taking all of that was such a good idea.
The Galleria is closed by order of the director.
You're carrying too much and you can't run. What? No? No?
Wonderful! You're just in time for today's product. Right this way, please. General Atomics, world leader in consumer robotics. Dependable line of Mr. Handy Household Robots.
I think I cheated the system.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
Clients, General Atomics is proud to offer our Mr. Galaxy product line, complete with the latest in tech, military hardware.
Alright, you commie bastards. Now
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
That's a bummer. Oh, we're back here. Bye.
remember, you are the pride of General Atomics.
Let's try that again.
Wonderful! You're just in time for today's product demonstration.
Oh, sneak attack.
World leader in consumer robots. Now a
Well,
dependable line of Mr. Handy Household Robots.
there we go.
Free you from the drudgery of housework forever. Errands,
You're supposed to explode.
no task is
Come on, go boom.
Mr. Handy to handle. And our models are legendary.
Oh.
Durability. With proper servicing, your Mr. Handy can last a lifetime. General Atomics is proud to offer our Mr. Gutsy product line, complete with the latest in high-tech military hardware. That concludes today's product demonstration. Good day!
What? Ten out of 10 best game. Okay. Outlet workroom key. Ah.
The director has sanctioned the use of lethal force against looters.
Scalpel. Hey, some XP, finally.
Yes.
How may I be of service?
Sure. Let's take a look.
I am sorry, but the Galleria is closed. Do come back during normal business hours. Might I help you with something?
Could you give me your product demonstration again?
Why, of course! I'd be delighted. Right this way, please.
But there is... Oh well.
General Atomics, the world leader in consumer robotics. Our dependable line of Mr. Handy Household
All
robots
employees,
will
report
free you from
suspicious
the
behavior to the
drudgery of
director
household
immediately.
forever. From chores to childcare. Welcome to Handy Eats, where serving you is our code. Table for one?
What's with all the bodies?
We do have a lot of satisfied customers, don't we? They almost never leave. I still have one booth left. It'd be my pleasure to serve you.
That face is very accurate for what's about to happen.
Sure.
Right this way, pun.
The Galleria is closed by order of the director.
Okay.
Waitron will take your order. Have a seat.
No. I will take these bottles because they are free. Sure, I'll sit then.
That's better. Now, how can we serve you today? Wait, you must be stupid if you can't hide from me.
Remember, you are the pride of General Atomics.
Oh!
And who gets to clean up all this time? Me. That's who.
Report suspicious behavior to the director immediately.
Or Queen of
Let's have a eat before that goes too low. There you go. That's some sketchy moves you got going on there. We're leveling up though, that's nice. Mature or don't, hell I care. Sad there's no voice lines for that, at least in my game. Might be some mod breaking it, who knows.
The director has sanctioned the use of lethal force against looters. Are you tough enough to take on the champ?
Lethal force against looters? Does that include me? If I start banging on this dude, will people be mad? Okay, let's not try and win that, it's impossible. Let's do this, I guess.
Put him up! Error, unhandled exception in box. Foul! Bring out! Foul!
Really? Really? No, 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 no. Fuck.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
Up.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
The thing with these bots is that you gotta keep close, but just out of range of their melee, but not far enough that they activate their flamethrower.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
Woo! Somehow I survived that, which is nice. Oh. My folders. Oh. Ooh. Nice.
Got it.
Office terminal. Okay, F. This is how you lazily hack terminals, by the way. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No? Come on. Someday you gotta work. Come on. Really?
Sweet.
Finally! Wow. Wow. Ah, manager's sale. 25% off. I guess it applies to this dude. Did I leave this dude alive? I did. So,
How can I assist you?
Are any of your robots for sale?
Our floor models? Why, no. Those are for display only. Normally, I'd be happy to offer you your very own Mr. Handy kit. Some assembly required. But I'm afraid we're all out of stock. I'm sure the new models will be arriving any day now.
okay.
Sure. Let's take a look.
I am sorry, but the gallery is closed.
Remember, you are the pride of General Atomics.
So, there was hinted about manual override.
All employees, report suspicious behavior to the director immediately.
Let's see what they have in the bowling alley. Let's see if there's a key or a password or something there.
Welcome to Back Alley Bowling. Step right this way and I'll get you all set up. Here to bowl, just $5,000 a game.
Dude, I can't afford that.
Sorry to hear that, Mum. Do come back again. Change your mind?
$5,000? That's ridiculous.
Poverty is never something to feel ashamed of. Do come back when you can afford it.
Uh-oh. This is not good. That was everyone doing flames at once. Okay, that's a bit OP. Oh, hi there. Oh god. Oh god. Have at you, I guess. Okay, this is not ideal, but it's manageable. One down. Aha. Let's eat something real fast. Oh, I ate the hub flower, so you can eat the hub flower. Good to know. Oh no, 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 no. Don't start doing that. No, no. Fuck you. Why is it always easier to hit off the ice? Oh wait. Oh, that little thing on the back seems to be unprotected. I never noticed that. Okay, okay. Shush. Yeah. I've been better. Oh god, what the f— I didn't expect that by walking across a line on the floor, but there we are, I guess. And this looks like the idle animation is stuck. What? Oh, and now it's fixed. Great game, 10 out of 10. Would not play again. Yet here we sit. Okay.
Nice.
There's gas in here, so let's not fire weapons. Huh. Oh. That ashtray, really? Was that enough? How was that enough? Well, if that's it, then I'm gonna collect every freaking bowling ball and dumbbell and everything I can find and dump it on into one of those. I'll probably get a good amount of steel from this. All the food. I need to get access to that radio because I'm not sure if this is copyrighted or not, so... Oh, and it doesn't stop when I enter the menu. That's perfect. Perfect. Really? They only weigh 0.6. They give plastic. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but there's never nothing you really wanna leave. Okay, that's enough for now. We have hit the point of we have too much crap in our inventory. There's only more crap here. Fuck. You know what, let's just grab everything in a slow ass manner. Where's over here? Let's see if I can find that radio now. Perfect game. Can go between there, but I can't go over the bar disk. You're carrying too much and you can't run. Cool story, bro. Right away, because I have accumulated quite a bit of rats from food. Guess it's the jukebox here making noise. Shush. Or is it gonna play another one? That's not gonna be better. Good. Let's see what else is up here. Except for a bunch of pool cue balls. Whoop!
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Almost fell through the floor there. It's not really that much else, is there? More things. Ding. There we go. And now let's loot more. Fuck. Fuck, damn it. Fuck, damn it. Okay, now let's move down to this one and loot here. Oh great, more bowling balls.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
You can't do it. Thank you, game, thank you. Thank you very much, game. Okay. Maybe finally I can go to the back. Oh, I can pick up every bowling pin if I want to. And I hear another robot. Why would he be cautioned?
You must be bloody stupid if you can't hide from me.
Okay, there we go. I survived. Just barely. Just barely. Does my HP auto regen though? That's my question. I don't think it will. You are carrying too much and you can not run. You are carrying too much and you can't run. You're carrying too much and therefore you can't run. You're carrying too much.
No way I'm cracking this. Security's too good.
Boo. Mine. Mine. That was fun. Let's go and dump that in this storage container, which shouldn't realistically be able to carry what I put in it, but hey, this is Fallout. I mean, literally, I put 39 bowling balls inside of this cash register. How does that even make sense? I mean, it doesn't, but let's just say it does, okay? There we go. So, level up. Let's grab that hacking I wanted. This means I should probably be able to hack that terminal I couldn't a few seconds ago. Yay, let's do this shit again.
Got it.
Oh, nice. So, confidential privilege information, field directives, showcase the range versatility, presence of an on-site human supervisor. You, however, any actions or intervention of your pilot will interfere with operations of the canals of the gallery. You are strictly forbidden. You are remain in your office unless always directed. Yeah. So text that I'm half interested in. TMS password override. Okay, there we go. Gal 6. Gal 6. General Atomics International Galleria. Wow, that's such a bad password, I want to puke. Anyway. It seems that I now know how to, or, well, I think that I have the password to do manual override. How about you look at me?
Very impressive. For a low-life criminal!
I'm reporting in, as ordered.
Reporting in? Wait, the grand reopening? Are you Grand Reopening Supervisor 18 Alpha? You're late.
Yes, that's right.
Manual authorization of the grand reopening requires authentication, so I'm going to need to see your ID, sir.
Wait, manual activation? Is there any other kind?
Irrelevant. Now awaiting manual activation. Please present your employee ID.
What ID?
Explanation issued. This is a threat. Present your ID.
I don't have to show you anything.
Unacceptable! The Galleria is closed. You were warned. General Atomics Galleria on the lookout for thieves, trespassers, and communists!
You know what, maybe I should have... No. Maybe I should have read when that thing popped up. If you believe the director has been compromised, you may disable it and use the DMS override terminal in its office to trigger an emergency manual shutdown. Well, so I was kind of on the right track. Oh, hi. Hi, dog meat. Oh, doggy.
General Atomics Galleria remains all employees. Report suspicious behavior to the director immediately.
Maybe that will bug the game, who knows? It's Bethesda. Seems stable so far.
All right, maggot. Step forward. Slowly.
No. The director management system is operating normally. Emergency controls have been disabled.
Hold it right there. I've been monitoring your approach. Impressive.
Bye.
Very impressive. For a low-life criminal.
he just said, nah, fuck that. Fuck.
The director has sanctioned the use of lethal force against looters.
Say so. Sanction lethal force here, sanction lethal force there. Blah blah blah.
Any deviation from standard operating procedures must be authorized by the director.
So
Did you have any other questions?
yes,
Who's the director?
General Atomics' patented Director Management System, DMS, is responsible for coordinating the actions of the robots here at the Galleria. The Director allows the Galleria to operate autonomously without the need for human intervention.
Why is the Galleria closed?
I'm sorry, but due to pending litigation, I am unable to comment. Please direct your inquiries to the General Atomics Legal Affairs Division.
fine then.
Very well. Enjoy your visit.
The director has sanctioned the use of lethal force against looters.
Yeah. So this is
For thieves, trespassers,
interesting.
communists. Remember, you are the pride of General Atomics.
Is there a possibility of passing a red species once with low level? I don't know.
Hold it right there. I've been monitoring your approach. Impressive. Very impressive. For a low-life criminal!
You've been watching me?
Did you honestly think a state-of-the-art facility like the General Atomics Galleria wouldn't have proper surveillance equipment? And yet, despite all of my sensors, all of my robots, I still don't know why you're really here. Just what are you up to? Who are you working for? I want answers! Wait, the grand reopening? Are you grand reopening Supervisor 18 Alpha? You're late.
Grand reopening.
Alright, listen up. The grand reopening protocol will distribute software upgrades to all employees and reopen the Galleria. Manual authorization of the grand reopening requires authentication, so I'm going to need to see your ID. Sir.
Here.
Scanning. Deception detected. You were warned.
Oof.
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. When will you die?
Up. Let's eat. Good luck seeing now. Oh, come on. Oh, fuck off.
General Atomics Galleria remains. Any deviation from standard operating procedures must be authorized by the director.
I have an idea. It's a stupid idea, but it's maybe gonna work. Maybe.
All employees, report suspicious behavior to the director immediately.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
All employees, report suspicious behavior to the director immediately. All right, maggot, step forward slowly.
Mine?
And from here,
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Molotov cocktail. And I did not expect that.
The director has sanctioned the use of lethal force against looters.
Oh, at least I'm here. F.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
Really? Laser? Come on, come on.
Any deviation from standard operating procedures must be authorized by the director.
Yeah, the thing is I don't really have anything to
Ooh, a piece of candy.
raise house with, I guess. I'm not used to being this weak.
All right, maggot. Step forward. Slowly. I want this bastard. How dare you like mother-loving comic?
Yep. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. I don't know. Is it? Okay.
Personal message for you from Uncle Sam. Kill them all. God will understand.
Up. No. Let's heal up before he kills me in one shot again. That's not what I intended, but I guess it works. Just die. Ugh. Fuck. Okay, there we go. Grand reopening. And we should be fine now. And now I should be able to go to the only place I left alive, because I'm an idiot.
Welcome back. Do let me know if you need anything. How may I be of service?
I'll take a look, sure.
General Atomics is here to help.
Oh. So I did all of that just for some gas canister and some used oil. I mean, fine. There, have it. Ooh! Ooh! Why is everything free already, suddenly? It's because I own this now? Oh, God damn it. You are over cucumbered. Therefore you cannot run. Whoa. What's the heaviest loot we got? Fuck. Oh. Well, there you go. Still no voice lines from the guards. Anyway, as our inventory is smack dab full, literally, 230 out of 230, I will head... Oh, look at all this shit we discovered, that's nice. I will head back to Sanctuary. And I will take all of the loot we have. I'll take all the loot. What? You saw that, didn't you? What the f... What the fuck? Excuse me? Oh my god, really? How far did it go? Okay. Over cucumber. So yeah, that's what I mean with things that you have to, or that you should at least, turn off your machines, or shit like this will happen. That's the first time this specifically happened to me. But yes. The funny thing about tools is that they weigh nothing too, so you can have 400,000 of them if you want. Seems like it has... Oh, look at all that nuclear material! Oh! 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 But yes, I think I will end it here. Actually, what I will do is that, and I'll transfer over this and all of that, the effective, and I'll travel back to the Galleria which is cleared now, thank God. Let's loop back.
Enjoy your visit.
Thank you. I'm like, wait, didn't I put a bunch of crap out here too? And yes, I think I did. That, yeah. You care too much and can't run, what? Really? Like, can I... I mean, I guess that works. Just leave a bunch of weapons there. I'm not gonna use those in a while. And let's go back to Sanctuary. Everything's just as we left it. And that's why you need to turn it off, apparently. Yes. Here we go, a bunch of crap that we didn't get with us before. There we go. And I will stand here for a while and make sure that I get some nice loot. And yeah, I'll stop it here. So this has been it, essentially. We walked to the west and we stumbled upon a bunch of things, and eventually the General Atomics International Galleria, Automated Galleria, which was indeed a software update after 400 years, but still has one vendor there. There's not much, but maybe I can invest in that vendor later when I eventually get the barter related perks. But yes. So this is essentially loot from this episode and last episode, partially. And speaking of, we did have a quick look at that before, so let's look at it now. What do we do? That's not too bad. Lots of steel, that's nice. Kind of want More steel. Definitely more wood though. Definitely need more wood. Oof. But yes. Oof. I will stand AFK here. And I'll see you some other time. Goodbye.